So here is the re-blunted drill bit. Let's see if I can set it up. Right, so that is a GoPro mount holder which I have literally bodged onto a piece of wood, and that is on one of my tripods. It's similar setup, and these things are not all made the same. So here is a GoPro. There's a number of GoPro mounts mackled together, and that does not fit into that slot. So the first time I tried to push it in there, what happened was it snapped the tab off, and that is not the first time it happened. Very annoying. GoPro mounts, not all the same. So my blade snapped yesterday on the slowly mackled together bandsaw, and since last time I used it, I put a cut-off switch on it, and I put a cut-off switch pushing tab with a piece of plastic in it. And then yesterday I figured out that this hole here is for doing the orientation of keeping the belt on. I haven't sorted out a top screw yet. And inside here you'll see a washer, maybe, on the bolt here, and then behind that pulley there's another washer as well, so it's spaced out correctly now with no play in it. And now the blade sits on that wheel perfectly, look here. Before it was hanging off by about half, and there's nothing you could do about it because the amount of play in that lateral movement forwards and backwards. And it's on the bottom one as well, so that's all sorted out. New blade on there, fresh blade. Thought I'd treat some more modifications. Didn't do this. Haven't finished up the tin work yet and painted it, but I stripped down all the rollers, adjusted all these so it is touching perfectly at the back, touching perfectly at the back, and you can put your finger on the roller and stop it, so it's perfect. Same with these here, you can stop these rollers just by holding them, but they hold the blade straight. So you can see that, the blade is straight. That's the first cut that came off of it. Yes, I know there's a lot of mess everywhere still. So there's still a lot of play in this bearing here, and I've got to get it exactly right. I should imagine that'll take about 6 to 8, maybe 10 hours messing around with that, getting that bang on. I might have to slot these, and I can't get my head around that at the moment. Anyway, that's that. And you might have seen it in the background. I'm fitting up the grinding attachment. Tried it on yesterday, and I'm trying to do a diamond cut for a start. So I'm setting up for a diamond cut so I can true that wheel up and start doing some grinding, because it's a bit manky. I think you can see that. Let's zoom in on it. It's sometimes easy if you zoom in on it. There you go. So that's a bit manky. Unlike this side, which is nice. There we go. Yeah, there we go. That's beautiful. Yeah. Okay. The old electronics is coming together. So we're here at the Clarke mini mill. Of course, the Clarke mini mill doesn't use M12 hardware, and there's no way you can get M12 hardware in there. But it is very convenient using 1/2 inch or M12, whatever this is. I think this is 1/2 inch stuff. Yeah, this is 1/2 inch hold down clamps. So I took some M12 all thread or threaded rod and drilled and tapped it for M6. Beautiful. And that allows me to do this. Put my M6 stuff in, and then literally just put that on the end, which extends them as well, obviously, and it turns it into M12 hardware. It's simple but brilliant. So what I did was, I touched the drill on the block, and lifted up by around about 1/2 millimetre and then positioned over the hole. Using the manual dials with no DRO, and lined up on that hole 4 times, amazingly. So let's see, did I drill through the block? No, I didn't. I didn't even come through the back. It should be around about 1/2 mil from the edge, so that's good. And I got the slit. Is it in the centre? Ish. Sort of. I think it might have wandered. Yeah, it's wandered up. Oh well, it wasn't. I should have gone through a little bit for a start. Not to worry. Okay, that's not the best slit. I could have done it with a hacksaw. I was going to do it with a hacksaw just for quickness, and I thought, no, let's get the slitting saw out. It will look great. Well, it doesn't. I still have the rotary table set up on the Bridgeport. As you can see, I've been using it. It's very hard to film around here. I can't remember what I did there. I did something. What did I do? Hard to tell. I wasn't doing anything rotary with the rotary table when I did this. I just clamped it down to use the Bridgeport because I needed the Bridgeport, and I clamped it straight to the bed. A bit like I've got over there and just locked the bed down like that. Anyway, the rotary table's on there, and some other stuff as well, and I haven't finished the machine movers yet. They're getting closer, but I have some marks on here, and they are corresponding to a 0 in that direction, and also a 0 in that direction to the centre of that, and the Y movement is on centre, hasn't moved for about 3 weeks. Because I've had a lot of rotary table stuff to do, I don't want to continually set up on it because it's dead quick just to go to that mark down there, get centre, put the part on and go. And the head is swung out to it instead of swung across to the vice area. So it's all set up for the rotary table, and I want it set up left there. And it would just stay like that and not be a bother if the other machine was ready. But obviously I've got to make the jacks and the machine movers to move this across there, and to move this across there, and to move that across there to allow me to clear that floor space out. Also I've got to use them to move that across here, and then I can harden that concrete, level that concrete with some screeding, and then put all the machines back over there and set them all up and put them in their final resting position for a long time. Oh dear. That's easy to move, by the way, the drill press. It's quite heavy, but it's dead easy to move. But you can't roll that very well on rollers because it's got these things. I suppose I could, I suppose it would roll. Shall I try it? I then give up on the machine movers, which seem to be taking a lifetime. May to August now, so I started in May and it's now August. Anyway, we're getting there. Yeah. And obviously I haven't been concentrating just on the machine movers. You know, I've been doing projects like this, and the next project is on the bandsaw. Ow. So this is the next project. 2 pieces of steel, not very squarely cut on the bandsaw. Well, you get to see some floor action. And they are now going to be milled to become a vice for, so that's going to attach to that, something like that, I think. I can't remember now, I'm designing it at the moment. I think it's like that, so it's going to be chopped out half there, and then a 10mm section or 50mm section sticking out there, and then that down there, so it looks a bit like a gun. That's going to slip in there, 2 bolts in there, that's going to be bolted to that, this is going to have a L section, so you'll see it solid from the top and then rebated, so there'll be a rebate in that side. And then I will, this tongue that's sticking out from the top that's left, I will take the first centimetre off, leave 2 centimetres, then take 2 centimetres off, leave 2 centimetres, and then take the last centimetre off, and then cut dovetails on those 2 prongs which are sticking out, and then make a sliding jaw which attaches to that, which mates to that. It's a bit windy today, you can probably hear it. My wind turbine is going absolutely berserk. I'm going to see how much power it's putting in a minute. It won't be a lot because the solar panels are working as well because it's sunny. Anyway, enough of that jiggery pokery with the wind turbine. Let's have a look at this setup. So, it may look like I've just plonked some bits on top of the milling table. It looks tremendously like that. But this is a setup block which I bought as a retiring engineer in Birmingham selling all his stuff. I bought his whole toolkit off of him, and these were in it. And when he was explaining them to me, he said these are setup blocks, and he was looking at me thinking, this bloke doesn't know what I'm talking about, and they're not for making things with. You're not going to make things with them, are you? Because I looked at them, I thought, wow, they look amazing, they do. And I think he thought I was looking at them and thinking, well, there's a piece of steel I can use for making stuff with. Now these are setup blocks. And he was very reluctant to give these to me. And he said these got polished up every now and again in the surface grinding room. So they should be really square. He was a jig borer. He used these on a jig boring machine. And this is nowhere near the size of the jig boring machine he was using these on. And he made turbines for gas plants, I think. Anyway, so it may look like I've just plonked everything down there. What I've actually done is I've set me angle on this to 30 degrees. And then I've used this edge and I've set it across that edge, and then I've used the rule to lay the part across. So that's how I've set that angle. This angle you can see how I've set. So I've got a parallel in here. And I've set it parallel to the bedways. Hopefully those slots are parallel. It's going to be hard to do this one-handed, but here's some of my sadomasochistic mini mill, micro mill milling. That's 10mm deep and 6.3mm wide, because that is the parallel angle. And we're taking half moon as well. So I'm sure it's going to protest a little bit. We're going to be running it at, let's zoom out a little bit. This is a 1-to-1 ratio, the gears inside here, I believe. So that will be 870 RPM. So if it kicks out and goes everywhere, so it's tight enough. It's only got 2 strap clamps on it, lucky, and they're not particularly tight. Let's see if the strap clamps can take this kind of hammer. No, it's moved already. Okay, so I've got to reset it all up now. It's just slipped. And then do that all again. Am I the happy one? Now that setup is completely preposterous. Yes, I've got a piece of paper for friction underneath, in between the setup block and the workpiece. I've got a piece of aluminium against a piece of scrap steel which is being held in place by a bolt in the 1, 2, 3 block, which is being held down by the hold down clamping bolt, and there's a second bolt in the 1, 2, 3 block balancing the load on the 1, 2, 3 block a little bit. So now the tendency for the part to rock this way is resisted by the 1, 2, 3 block pushing back. Hopefully it doesn't try to walk that way, but we will see. Right, we're back where we were 10 minutes ago. Let's see if I can handle this. Answer is no, so we will back off the feet a little bit. Ooh. Probably a couple more wet, and we'll try it. Yeah, I can handle all the mountain. That's about some millimeterage of depth I've cut. Let's try 2 hole turns, 3 hole turns, 6 mil that should be. Let's see if we get anything. And there. So there's the 2 cutters, one removed, side by side on the table, and that's how much I have taken off of it. And I'm just going to shake a little bit as I'm looking. So you're looking like I've already taken 6 millimeters, or 1/4 of an inch off that already. Now I've got more than 6 millimeters left. Or 1/4 of an inch. I've got around about 7 millimeters left, so it might not do it. Anyway, I'm going to chuck it in now, and I don't want to film any more. I'll just explain. I'm going to do the final cut there, then I'm going to move in around about 2/100 of a millimetre and take a skim cut off of it, and that'll be good enough then. We've got about a 4 millimetre land at the front there. Let's just check that out. And it's 6 millimeters. I'll bring that down to about 4 millimeters, that land at the front there. Or I might leave it at 6. Now I'll bring it down to about 4 millimeters, and then I'll be happy. Yeah, it's going well, and the postman's just been, so I've got our digital level box as my present today, and I got one of these. I don't know what it is, I don't. Oh yeah, it's a magnetic chip collector. Awesome. Sweet as. It's amazing what turns up in the post, isn't it? Oh, I've been wanting one of these for ages. That's excellent. Coolio. Anyway, that's going pretty well. Oh yeah, we're down to about 4 mil now. Just got to do some precise measurements. So obviously I've got to have a play. So let's see how accurate it is. It's on, and it's not zeroed. Do I do something? No. 0. Yeah, okie dokie. So that is level. Amazing. I know it's level because I levelled it. That's levelled up. Right. My word. That's 89 degrees and 7 somethings. 8 somethings, in fact. Wow. Let's see if it's got an angle here. That's 89 and 4. Ooh, you beauty. And that, with a sticker on it, is 89 and 3. And let's try and trick it. Let's turn it around the opposite way. Nope, you can't trick it. 89 and 5. Let's try and trick it that way. Error! It says error! You've got to get it perfect for it, otherwise it says error. Amazing. Awesome. 89.9 degrees. Clearly that stamped metal box is not squarish, is it? Let's have a look for something that should be square. I don't want to use me milling machine. Tell you what, I want to make it magnetic. Anyway, there you go. You get the idea. It is bloody brilliant. I'm sure I will be able to make semi-accurate measurements with that to my heart's content. So clearly I forgot to press record as I was just rumbling on for the last 2 minutes, which some of you might be happy about. And I've just broke down that setup. One-handed. So it doesn't matter. Anyway, this is the finish I got from the little cheapo 1/4 inch end mills. These are the boxes they come in, made by that SWT company there. That happens to be a 3/16, and that happens to be a 1/4 inch. Now that's the side of it, and there's a bit of texture to it. It's not great. I should have put carbide end mill in and done the finishing pass with the carbide end mill, but wow, are you going to even see that ever? So that is their platen completed. I'm going to have to make the top again. Reason being is when I made it, I was probably in a bit of a rush, and I just wanted it working, so those 2 holes there are not quite carling. That one is drilled further in, which means the plate comes back a little bit. It's got a bit of an angle on it. You can see it better from the back there, I know. So there's a quick test in the device. It's going to work good. Get that out, get that set, pinch bolt in, and we'll be able to dress the wheel in a minute. It's so close, I can taste it. So now back at the lathe, a lot easier, I can use both hands. And I've decided to leave it not drilled all the way through, since it's turned out so well. This is a bolt, cap screw bolt, and it has quite a lot of engagement before it bottoms out, leaving about 6 mil. Well, let's measure it. Oh, 4.9 mil. Now, I didn't cut a flat on it on purpose, because for this one I am making a washer. So I'm making a washer and a thumb wheel. This thumb wheel is going to be nailed just to make something different and easier, because it takes so long to make a really nice thumb wheel. And this washer. Last night I was making the spacers, which I showed you for the bandsaw, and I used this piece of steel in here, and it was perfectly centralised. and it had a 15mm hole put in it to make the washers, the spacers, 15.2mm. Now I've just pushed that 1.5mm off centre just by adjusting two jaws. So I've adjusted two jaws, this one, and I've pushed it towards you 1.5mm. Now if I take 1.5mm out of a 15mm hole, that'll make it 17.5mm, and the diameter of that bar is 20. So I've got to bore this recess here out to 20mm and try and make it a bit deeper than what it is. Right, well, that's looking like a complete and utter mess. Sweet. So that is good. Okay. Very good, very good. So I'm sure you can see exactly what I'm trying to do here now. Just break that big bear off there. And that one there. There. Now I'm not going to leave that really sharp edge on. Okie dokie, we have here a setup of delight. 1, 2, 3 blocks squared up to the table using parallels. A 1, 2, 3 block underneath it, free floating just underneath it. To get the ER32 collet block off the table bed because the nut is too big on an ER32 and it would touch the bed. So that's what otherwise I'd just go straight to the bed, because there'd be no point in having it that far off the table, just losing the height. Then, because it's in such a weird position, the only clamping arrangement I can do is using a step. I'm sure you can see there. Yeah, you can. There you go. So I've used a step, and on the other side I've used a step as well. Can you see that? Let's just zoom in. It's easier. So there you go. There's a step on that as well. And you've probably noticed already some adjustable parallels underneath. Now, if this had been absolutely perfect, and considering I just pushed it in the 4-jaw chuck without any kind of centralisation whatsoever side to side, it wasn't thickest at the apogee of the two flats. From the two flats, the apogee from that. So I've measured round it and put a little red mark on there. Can you see it? Yeah, just about. There you go. And that is the thickest point. So that thickest point now is closest to the top. Okay, I sort of like it. It's sort of okay. So if I take the locking bolt out, at the moment it's just a cap screw, obviously, it still stays on. And you have to fit it. Obviously it's not any kind of band clamp, it's just a washer. It's a spherical washer. So for the time being I can just get a few packing washers, pack it out there, and that's going to work. Righty ho, I've been playing with the drill grinder. Not quite got it yet. This clamping system is rubbish. That clamping system is rubbish. If I take the blade off the front of it, I'll try and do a 3mm drill bit in it. And I'm going to have to modify it considerably. So, plan of action for this is bin that clamping system. Just bin it, because it's absolutely rubbish. Absolutely cretinous. I think I'm going to have to make a insert. I don't know. I haven't decided. I'm not sure even if the geometry of this is right yet or not. I know it's sold as a drill sharpener, but it is, as it is difficult to use. You know, you're supposed to set it up down here and then do it here. Now the angle is built into this, so I'll set this up with a parallel at the bottom, and there is a slight angle on that. I think that's the relief angle, but it just isn't quite working properly. I don't know why. I'm sure it's something to do with me. I probably haven't set the end length properly, but it's making a too severe relief. Well, it's a nice curve, it's too severe, and the chisel point is at 90 degrees instead of 135 degrees. Alright, continuing on with the electronics upgrade, I had to resort to the instructions. Now, when you have to resort to the instructions, there's obviously something going wrong These are the adjusting screws. They're called adjusting screws in the manual. See them? Zoomed in onto the... There you go. There it is. And that's the nameplate as well. Now you'd assume to yourself, nameplate, adjusting screws, they must be fully accessible once the tool is in use, yeah? Apparently not. So what's happened here is, look how easy this is to adjust, look. Just, I can't really see that one at the moment, but there we go. I think we're adjusting that, yeah we are. Right. So any logical person would think that is correct. I can't do this one-handed, and setting you up on the tripod is really difficult at the moment. I'm waiting for new clamps to come. So I will set it up how they tell you to set it in the instructions. Again, we need to apologise for the handheld nature of the doing that. Right, now I've got that out of my head. We've got an arrow in here which is always invisible because it's underneath, but it gives you an idea that that's in line. We can see when that's in line because it's in line. When that's in line, that should be pointing down the centre to the spindle. So if they say this should be in line with the spindle, in other words on centre height. So it's there, it is going to be on centre height. I think we'll all agree with that. Now, you can't see the adjusting screws because they are at the back. When this is set up normally, they would be down where those bolts are, facing away from you, completely impossible to adjust. Now I've got it set up on my grinder, I can still adjust them, but it is going to be a fiddle. That is going to change, maybe. So that wasn't obvious because I can't get to the adjusting screws now. When it's set up in its normal position, you can't get to the adjusting screws, and it talks about adjusting the adjusting screws in the instructions. Anyway, now I've got that off my chest. It doesn't give you any gap in between the wheel and the front of this tool. And you'll also notice that on the front of the tool there's a piece missing, which is the adjusting bar thing, which is rubbish. Especially because I've ground on it now as well. Anyway, it does mention that your drill bit should be pointing out half the width of diameter's length sticking protrusion from the plate, and the drill bit flanks, the cutting edges, should dissect that 90 degree, so it should have 40. Should look perfectly 45. So each cutting edge should be flat like that, where the thumbnail is, one there and one up there, offset. And because it's a 90 degree V, once you've made your cuts, the flat should be slightly offset from that centre line, which happens after the grinding, obviously. Now it's set up correctly, and clearly I can't do this one-handed, and I'm not putting it on the camera stand in case the camera falls out. I will sharpen another bit and we'll see if it goes correctly this way. I think I've figured out why it's overcutting. We'll see. And why it works so good the other way, and it's really not going to work this way. It's just going to really wipe the side of the drill out. So we've got the pin. If I could get a better background, maybe we could do it. So you see the pin? The centre line of the pin. And you see how the tool is not on centre line. so I'm just going to space it out. So yes, you'd have to be stupid to have a tool in that position, but now I can get it in that position. Look at that. Now it's been dragged away, and all I've done is put it on centre height basically. I've put a reasonably thick washer in that. There, you see that? It's still just catching on the boss a little bit so it can centralise itself. And now, as you can see, the tool sticking out the front there. There you go, more or less on centre height. I can hardly contain my glee. Right, so this is a right hand twist drill. It has just drilled that. You see that? Okay. But how it did it like that. Do you see the difference? That's the way it should work, and this is the way it drilled. So I'll just put a centre dimple in there. I'm going to try and do it without breaking the drill. This is one-handed. No, it's going to try. I need to get into that centre divot. I need some pressure as well. Now you've got to appreciate that's one-handed, and that was drilling backwards. This drill sharpening jig is awesome. It can make right-hand drills drill backwards. It's amazing. Absolutely. I thought it would when I saw it. I thought, you know what? That looks like a left-hand drill. I reckon it's a left-hand sharpening jig. It must be. Look. I'm going to try and get you. But it's done quite a nice job for if it was a left-hand drill bit. That would be quite a nice job. But unfortunately, it's put the clearance on the wrong way around. But I'm going to try swapping the clearance around the right way now, and we'll swap everything around again. So I've decided that I'm going to put this on anyway. I took the platen off, and I'm going to make a block and put it here. And I've decided I'm going to put 10 degrees of relief angle on it. That's the pivot this pin sits at. And I'm going to make it myself. So the block will sit on here, something like that. I can't hold the block and show you that, but this is approximately the right kind of position. So I've measured that to be 50 degrees or thereabouts. Approximately is good enough. And the whole thing's adjustable, but I want to get it close when it's in the position where it fits perfectly. When it fits there good, like I say. The block, you can see, lines up there. It goes back a little bit to bring it to the centre. Just come back a little bit. So I've got to mill a bit off this block, and I've got to mill it off at 50 degrees, and I want an 11 degree back angle on it. So I want the face to be like that. So let's go and have a look at the mill and see how I've set it up, because it's already there. So here is the setup. The mill has got just enough room for this. I've got it wound all the way back. The table is literally, it cannot go any further back. I tried, and I got an extra 6 ticks on that, and it's literally bottomed out. Now it's bottomed out against the thing, but we still get side to side movement. And looking at it, the cutter, 1/4 inch cutter, will just take that material off. Zoom in, get a side angle on. Yeah, just because I think it's overhanging the end of the table, isn't it? I think it is. Anyway, that cutter will just do it, he says. I'm not sure if it will when it's overhanging the end of the table, but I've got 1, 2, 3 block at 10 degrees. I've got another 1, 2, 3 block at 10 degrees, and they are exactly the right amount of distance apart that they coincide that this block is touching that block, this block is touching that block, and it's all held at 50 degrees on the 50-degree angle plate is underneath it. And if that doesn't move, I'll be surprised. Unfortunately, I haven't got my tripod adapter, me GoPro adapters haven't turned up yet. They're coming from China. Sometimes they come in 2 days, sometimes they come in 6 weeks. So anywhere between 2 days and 6 weeks. So I'm not going to go one-handed and show you this, but you've seen the setup. Whatever happens at the end of this, that is what it'll be. I'll put some approximate layout lines on that I need to go to. So I need to bring the platen for this down to that depth, so I'm just going to take that red line and I need to come back to that red line there, the one that's at 10 degrees. Yeah, there's two there. I think you can just about see those, yeah. So, like most of my plans, things change as they go along. And just get some of these chips. That's the last cut I just did. Just taking it around about 6 mil at a time. I tried to take the full width, I don't know if you can see that there, but sorry, the full depth of cut, and well, at a smaller width, and it won't go well, so I didn't bother. And the chip tray stopping this area of the mill filling up with chips, which it was just starting to do. I thought I've got to do something, and I wonder if my old chip tray will fit, and it does. It stays there, and it's amazing. Even with the vibration of milling, it stays there so far. Anyway, I've come below the centre line, and the reason being is if I can find it. No, it's disappeared. It's gone back to the grinder. There wasn't quite enough meat there to put a hole right in the centre and then put the stop on, because I'm going to be putting a stop in there. I'm going to be drilling and tapping a hole and having an adjustable stop, so it can't go down too far and it can't go up too far, because I think that was the problem I was having. I was going OTT with the travel that I was using, because I've tested it with a pointer and it seems to be doing what it should be doing. It's just it wasn't doing what it should be doing because I was using it incorrectly, I think. Anyhow, we're stopping there for a rest. I'm quite happy that's going according to plan. I'm going to take it down to this height, and then I'm going to set up a fly cutter and fly cut across it. So here is the re-blunted drill bit. Let's see if I can set it up. I did it by hand eventually, so we can get a zoom in on it. No, it's blown out. Okay, there we go. So that's what I did. Now come on. Can you? Come on. Oh man. Too much vibration. Should we get in close on it? No, we ain't going to get in close on it. It's pretty rubbish. That's by hand on the 3mm. I can usually do way better than that. That side turned out alright. I just couldn't get both sides to go. Look at that, that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Yeah, and that ain't going to drill because, well, look at it. So I want to be able to sharpen that easily, and that is the object of the game with that attachment. There's the setup from before. So I will carry on modifying this grinder until one day it is fantastic. I had a remark today, and it was that surface finish is rubbish. So let's do something about it. Let's do something about it. got a 10mm carbide 4 flute end mill, or it might be tungsten steel, but I think it's carbide. So we'll run that at 1400 RPM. Which is a touch. So we'll have 1/100th of a millimetre for the first clean-up pass, and then I'll try and put it on the way back, see how this goes. Phew. All right. I'm sure people will be a lot happier with that finish. Night and day better. Night and day. Way better than it was. So now I'm going to have to bore a hole, and what I've decided to do here, when I finally get the head out of the way, there we go, it's out of the way now. What I've decided to do, let's get you into frame. Now this being a prototype, I am not sure if all of the features I want to do at the front end here are done. What I can say is, because I've done this all in one setup, this vertical face here is more or less exactly 90 degrees off of that face there for the first 10mm of that face. The other thing I can say is, this side face here is adjacent to that at 90 degrees, as is this face here, and this face is parallel with that face there. I have a small reference face on this side as well, which is parallel to that face. Parallel to that face. To that face there. So basically something like that, and when the tool is in operation then it will work like that. I don't know if you can see all that, probably yeah you can. So it will work like that, but this base here will be all the way back there. So now you can see it's all this gubbins here, is now interfering with all this here. There's a couple of things going on here. One, it's got this raised boss. So when I've got the boring bar in, I'm going to basically drill this and I'm going to bore it to this size here. Then when the boring bar's in there, I'm going to bore this in the same operation, so there's clearance, so it'll go around that boss. At that point then, once that's always sank in there, the unit itself will have a backstop. It won't be able to literally go backwards. So I'll leave it like that is for a start. And for the front stop, I've got this ledge here where I can literally bolt fingers on to go up here and touch that, so I can't go too far this way. Now the interesting thing is going to be how I set that up vertically in the mill. Now clearly I'm on YouTube and I watch other YouTube machinists, as I'm getting towards the machinery in my garage to enable me to be able to build my fusion reactor. I'm obviously looking for tips and tricks, anything new, exciting, things that make my life easier, any gadget that I should buy which makes manual machining easier. I get them, a bit like this digital angle gauge. I've used this today, I showed this on the last video. I've used this today, or yesterday it was, to set this 50-degree angle and check this 50-degree angle just quickly, knowing that once it's set I can use its own datums to pick up off of it. So I am going to show you how I set this up vertically so I can get the boring head in. I'm going to do this on the bridge board because there won't be enough height in this machine. So there she is, broken down, and all of my mating surfaces I've de-chipped. I'll try to force any chip into the gaps in there and clean off all the chips that are going to be in the way. Here is the part that I was milling. There's the angles. Okay, as you can see, it's just a rough piece of cold rolled steel, and in the lathe I've faced off both ends. And this one was pretty parallel. The other one I did was not. This one turned out good. Now if I whack that back in again, sort of like that, it really doesn't mean anything. You can't, there's no reference surface there. I think it was like about there, I think. But I take my V-block, my adjustable V-block, and I haven't adjusted it at all. Clean back the reference surfaces again on this, making sure they're all nice and clean and tidy. Make sure the bottom's all cleaned off and where it's going to. Put that somewhere close where it's supposed to be. I've got a splinter in my thumb, so if I yelp it's because I've just touched it. I almost did that and grazed it. Now it's in the V-block there now. It's not balanced very well. It's constrained by the 1, 2, 3 blocks now. So that V-block, if I push down on it, has to go in the right position because of the way I've set it up. So now I can take that out, and that's where it is. So you'll see this V here lines up with that 1, 2, 3 block, and this one's sitting in space. And it doesn't make any sense until you put the part in. And then when you put the part in and press down on it, that's it, it's solid. Now if I press down there, what happens is back there, if this front's been held down, shall I say, so if I hold down the front lightly and then put a clamp on the back, it tries to push that block away and push that block away, in which case it sticks it into a V and holds it nicely. So with 2 clamps on, it held beautiful. Now like I was saying earlier on, I couldn't catch the front end of it with the end mill. Now I can. So it's a bit too far in, so I wanted it parallel. I wanted this inner surface parallel with that, so I have to eyeball that. I've gone a little bit past it, but that's fine. So I shall reset the clamps up there, basically. So here is the re-blunted drill bit. See if I can set it up.